Welcome to the deep dive. Let's maybe forget the usual doomsday headlines about AI for a moment. Today, we're really plunging into the real-world applications of artificial intelligence, looking at what it actually does, and crucially, the clever people making it all happen.
Exactly.
So whether you're trying to get a handle on AI for your work or maybe you're just fascinated by what's next, our goal is simple. We want to give you a sharp, engaging picture of the AI landscape. No tech overload, we promise.
Definitely. And for this deep dive, we've looked at some really illuminating sources. We've got firsthand accounts from AI engineers at, big players like MasterCard and Amazon Web Services. And we also examined the development of some really specific AI language models, like one in Southeast Asia built to understand all the local nuances.
Okay, great. So let's jump right in. One area where AI is, well, already a silent powerhouse is fighting fraud. We heard from Rajat Maheshwari. He's with MasterCard's Cyber and Intelligence Solutions team. What they're doing is honestly mind-bending.
It really is. His team's building AI tools to manage customer risk, basically trying to stop scams before they happen. And the way they approach it is quite clever, maybe slightly unsettling too.
Oh, so?
Well, Rajat described how they actually create synthetic IDs. Think like hyper-realistic face masks, even fake fingerprints.
Wow. So they're trying to physically mimic fraudsters.
Pretty much, to understand how they might operate, how they might look.
That sounds like something out of a spy film. He even mentioned an artist who worked on Avatar help with this.
Yeah, which gives you an idea of the level of detail. But of course, it's not just physical disguises anymore.
Right, the digital world, deep fakes and things like that.
Exactly. As Raja pointed out, while physical stuff is still a factor, the sophisticated digital fakes, the deep fakes, are a huge growing concern. But the core idea is the same. By thinking like the bad actors, by literally creating these fake scenarios, they can build much stronger, much smarter defenses. It's very proactive.
That makes sense. Okay, so from protecting our wallets, let's shift to protecting the digital infrastructure itself. Some really interesting work at Amazon Web Services. We learned about Joel Garcia's team. Again, implicitly, we won't use names and their, let's say, unique approach to boosting system resilience. It involves something called Chaos Kitty.
Huh. Yeah, the name certainly catches your attention. Joel explained is basically a physical, sort of live-action simulation of their AWS cloud environment.
Physical. How does that work?
They use things like colorful lights, even actual bricks, to represent different parts of their cloud setup. Red lights mean a security issue. Green means everything's okay, compliant.
Okay, interesting. And the chaos part isn't just for fun, I assume. It connects to chaos engineering.
Precisely. Chaos engineering is, well, it's about deliberately injecting small controlled failures into a system.
To see what breaks.
Essentially, yes. To see how it responds, find weaknesses before they cause real problems, like a stress test for software and systems. But what makes Chaos Kitty really cutting edge now is they've integrated a generative AI assistant with it.
Ah, okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. So this AI has learned all their security policies.
Right, huge amounts of documentation. So now the teams, instead of digging through manuals, can just ask it questions in plain English.
Like what?
Well, the example given was pretty neat. Someone could literally say, Alexa, fix Chaos Kitty.
Like what?
Yeah. The Gen AI sees the simulation state, maybe a red light understands the policy context, and can actually suggest or even start the fix. It means the human experts aren't bogged down trying to find the right paragraph in some dense document. They can focus on bigger picture improvements.
That's a huge time saver. And it naturally brings us to the underlying tech for a lot of this. Large language models.
Yeah.
LLMs, we hear the term constantly. In simple terms, what are we talking about?
Okay, so at their heart, LLMs are AI models trained on just vast, vast amounts of text and data, mountains of it. This huge training lets them understand and generate human-like language very fluently. Think ChatGPT-4, Gemini, those are well-known examples.
And the market for this is exploding.
Oh, absolutely. The projections for the generative AI market, which is heavily driven by LLMs, are immense. Over $1 trillion in the next decade, some analysts predict.
Wow. Now, with all that power, most focus seems to be on English, maybe a few other major languages, but language is so diverse.
It is. And that's why projects like Sea Lion in Singapore are so important.
Sea Lion.
Stands for Southeast Asian Languages in One Network. It's being spearheaded by Leon Weike, who incredibly speaks 14 languages.
14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the goal is to build LLMs that really grasp the specific nuances, the culture embedded within Southeast Asian languages.
Because context is everything.
Exactly. Weike gave this brilliant example, an informal Indonesian idiom. His beard is always on fire.
Okay, that sounds painful if taken literally.
Right. But it just means someone's constantly stressed, overloaded with work, panicking.
Ah, I see, like running around like a headless chicken, maybe.
Similar idea, yeah. And they showed how Sea Lion got it right, understood the casual, stressed meaning. Other big models, they either took it literally or gave a weirdly formal, incorrect response.
That really shows the gap, doesn't it? You need that cultural understanding.
Critically important in such a multicultural region, misunderstandings can be a real issue.
And the team-building Sea Lion reflects that diversity, too.
Very much so. People from Vietnam, the Philippines, Thailand. They call it their mini ASEAN lab. Plus, their work is open source. They want to add even more dialects later, like Balinese, Javanese.
That commitment to inclusion is fantastic. It feels like you need diverse people to build AI that understands diversity.
That's a great way to put it.
So we've seen AI understanding language, but generative AI is also about creating things, making experiences more personal. Vincent Oh from AWS talked about a project called StoryGen. This is with the National Library Board of Singapore.
Right, StoryGen. This allows kids, or even adults, to put in their preferences, characters, themes, settings, whatever. And the system generates a completely new, personalized book for them, instantly.
That's incredible. Talk about personalized learning or entertainment.
It really showcases the creative side. And it brings up this new skill or job role called prompt engineering.
Prompt engineering. Sounds technical.
It can be, but interestingly, it's not always about depth coding. It's more about figuring out how to ask the LLM the right questions, how to give it detailed instructions to get the output you want. It's about communication, in a way.
So less hardcore programming, more skilled requesting.
Kind of, yeah. A knack for clear, effective instruction.
With all this development, there must be huge demand for people who can work with AI.
Absolutely massive demand for AI specialists. And it was really inspiring to hear about people making big career shifts into AI.
Like who?
Well, we heard about Ty, coming from finance, now on this Sea Lion project. And Weike himself, the lead, was originally a pharmacist.
A pharmacist to leading AI language research. That's quite a jump.
It is. And even Rajat at MasterCard, he moved into AI back in 2014 from the mobile and semiconductor world.
It really shows the opportunities opening up.
Definitely. And organizations like AI Singapore are actively trying to grow that local talent pool, running apprenticeship programs. They see the need.
Okay, let's circle back for a moment to Rajat's work at MasterCard fighting scams. The scale of that problem is just staggering.
It truly is. The numbers mentioned were, what, over $1 trillion lost globally each year?
$1 trillion. And affecting something like 2 billion victims, according to the Global Anti-Scam Alliance. Just mind-boggling.
It is. And this is where AI's ability to sift through massive amounts of data looking for tiny suspicious patterns is so vital. Raj explained how their AI systems look at transaction patterns. For example, maybe a sudden series of very small purchases from one account. That might seem harmless, but to the AI, it could be a red flag.
Like someone testing a stolen card number.
Potentially, yes. Or other forms of fraud. The AI performs this real-time risk check every single time you tap your card.
Every time. Wow.
Yeah. And if something seems off, seems too risky based on the patterns it knows, the transaction can be declined right there, instantly. It's an invisible shield, really.
Powered by AI working constantly in the background.
Exactly. And looking ahead, this integration of LLMs, like we talked about with Chaos Kitty, it's set to improve user experiences everywhere. Joel at AWS gave another good example. Just reading invoices.
Invoices. Seems simple enough.
You'd think. But businesses get invoices in all sorts of formats. PDFs, scans, maybe even handwritten notes sometimes. Traditionally, if a new format comes along, you might have had to completely re-engineer your system to read it.
Right, which takes time and money.
A lot of time. But with Gen AI, because the LLMs are so flexible in understanding language and structure, they can often just figure it out. He mentioned an example where the AI correctly read the name Michael Garcia, even from maybe a slightly messy handwritten source.
Without needing specific programming for that exact format.
Correct. This ability to parse information, to break down and understand different document types, even handwriting it, makes systems so much more adaptable and efficient. Less re-engineering needed.
Parsing, okay, so breaking down and understanding, got it.
It just makes things smoother, more like how humans handle messy, real-world information.
Which inevitably brings us back to that big question, the one that seems to hang over every AI discussion. Maybe it was even in the title of some source material. Will AI take our jobs? Based on everything we've explored today, what's the more nuanced take?
Well, the perspective we're seeing emerge, certainly from these engineers on the ground, isn't really about mass replacement. It's more about efficiency. AI handles the repetitive, time-consuming tasks much faster, which frees up people to focus on the more complex, strategic, maybe more human-centric parts of their jobs, providing better service, developing new ideas.
So it changes the job rather than just eliminating it.
That seems to be the dominant view. And like we saw with prompt engineering, it's also creating entirely new roles, new skills that are suddenly in demand. It feels more like a transformation, a reshaping of work.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So just to recap our deep dive today, we've journeyed through some really fascinating practical uses of AI, from, the vital work fighting financial fraud and securing our digital world.
To developing these incredibly nuanced language models that understand culture, not just words.
And creating these amazing personalized experiences, like
The-
generating custom books on the fly.
And I think, importantly, we've seen the human element, right? The engineers, the linguists, the innovators actively building and guiding this technology. It's not happening in a vacuum.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up, here's something for you, our listener, to think about. Considering all these rapid changes, these powerful new tools, what future applications of AI do you find most exciting or perhaps most concerning? Where do you see the biggest potential or the biggest challenges? And maybe even consider, in this fast evolving landscape, what role could you play? It's certainly a lot to mull over